is also a low-end tornado threat tomorrow. Plenty of daytime heating. Lynette just talked about some of the temperatures we see today across eastern Tennessee, western North Carolina, even at elevation, right? There's a lot of elevation in play here, down through areas like Charlotte and Greenville and even Columbia, South Carolina. Most of the day is very quiet. We see that you feel really a lot of that instability that's going to be building throughout the day, leading to some thunderstorms popping by around 5 to 6 o'clock in the afternoon, pushing towards the dinner time frame. Not a lot of coverage of these storms, but where they do pop up, we could see hail and damaging wind with some of the strongest storms. But in a more summer-like fashion, we lose the daytime heating and we lose a lot of energy for these storms. Tomorrow, different setup, right? We actually have a cold front that's going to be sweeping to the south and to the southeast. Tomorrow, ahead of that, we have more record highs, 70s and 80s back on the map. Just insane heat for late March. Instability is going to build throughout the day as the afternoon and the evening goes on. Now, here's the deal with tomorrow. Eventually, we will see a line of storms that forms, supported by some of those mid to upper level winds. But initially, there's the chance for a few discrete supercells to form, and those would more likely present the tornado threat that is on the lower end of the scale, but it is not zero. You also have the hail threat, likely in areas like Pittsburgh and Parkersburg, Cincinnati, Louisville, but everywhere that you see in purple does have a hail threat. The timing. Most of the day, first half of the day is quiet. We get to around 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm a little bit concerned about what high-res future radar is showing around, say, central PA back towards areas like Pittsburgh, where we could see perhaps the development of some discrete supercells before a line of storms forms. Areas like Parkersburg or Pittsburgh, could we see 2 rounds of storms come through? Certainly a possibility, but this line is sustained through the overnight hours, and so we're going to track that for the better part of Sunday evening, clear into Monday morning, with the chance of some of those storms, especially along the leading edge, still being severe, damaging winds at that point being the big concern. We noticed, or we mentioned rather, some of the temperature drops that we're going to be seeing. Not everyone is going to be this extreme. Lynette, I think this is one of the more extreme examples, but Indianapolis, summer like Sunday, 81. We dropped 50 degrees nearly throughout the day.
No, boo.
With our high being in the 40s on Monday.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's talk about the hot, dry. We have to watch out for the threat of severe weather.
It is that time of year, right, where we tend to see more severe weather threats. The one today is on the lower end of the scale, but it's still there. Not a lot of coverage of storms is expected, but those that bubble up in the heat of the day from areas Knoxville to Asheville all the way down to Columbia, South Carolina, have the potential to be severe. We're talking straight line damaging wind and hail potential. This is around 6, 7 o'clock, even 8 o'clock in the evening, where you start to see some of the storms that fire up. But very quickly after the sun goes down, we see a lot of these storms lose their energy, lose their punch. This is very similar to what we would see in the summertime, where we see storms that bubble up in the heat of the day or just past the heat of the day and then fizzle once the sun goes down. Different setup for us tomorrow, because we have not only record-breaking heat, but there is a cold front that's going to sit just to the north of this, and we have plenty of instability that's going to build throughout the day, not just in the first part of the afternoon, but well into the evening hours, eventually prompting some of those storms to form. They will eventually form a line that continues to the south and the southeast overnight. But we have strong winds aloft that are going to help organize storms, and we also have a situation where storms are going to be sustained through the overnight hours, presenting a straight line damaging wind threat. We also have a low-end tornado threat. That would be if we see any supercells that form out ahead of the line. If we do see supercells, those will also present a hail threat. Pittsburgh, Parkersburg, Cincinnati, Columbus, all under that likely zone for hail, but everywhere that you see in purple, there is a threat. I know, Boston, you're like, we're done. We've seen our snow. We've seen multiple rounds of it. We're tired of the cold. But this is a messy forecast up Sunday. So tomorrow, our highs get close to 50, but it's paired with rain and clouds, especially in the afternoon. Eventually, that changes over to a rain-snow mix overnight. Monday morning, we have snow that's falling and maybe a few additional flurries by Monday evening. Now, the places that we do still have winter, fairly limited. When you look at the jet stream and that cooler air that's locked to the north, it's not as many that are experiencing spring or even skipped spring and went right to summer-like temperatures. 87 in St. Louis tomorrow, 87 in Nashville, 90 in Raleigh. But notice this cold front that's going to be moving to the south. Yes, we could see some severe weather in the Ohio Valley tomorrow as that makes progress to the south. But notice some of those temperature changes. St. Louis, we go from 80s to 50s. The changes become less dramatic as you move down into some of our deep south southern states. So, Atlanta 65. It's nowhere near the cool down that we saw just last week when we went from 70s and 80s all the way down to 40s for highs. Let's get the timing here in the Northeast, because initially, of course, those higher elevation ski resorts were just adding more to those totals, some of the insane totals that we've seen this year. You start with rain in Boston, and for a lot of the 95 corridor, be very aware of some of the severe weather potential from areas like Pittsburgh back into the Ohio Valley. But notice as we get to Monday morning, now enough of that cold air is funneling in that we're seeing the changeover to snow in Boston that continues to sink to the south into Connecticut and Rhode Island, perhaps seeing some snow flurries too. Do we see any flurries in New York City? It's not likely. It's likely we stay rain for the entire duration of the event, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a flurry or two try to mix their way in there. 1 to 2 inches of rain, with the highest snowfall amounts, of course, being towards the higher elevations. And a quick look here at Burlington and areas on the I-87 corridor. You see a bit of a messy forecast. It doesn't stay completely snow throughout the duration. There are some times that we can see a rain-snow mix, but as the colder air moves in, Lynette, by Monday, we are all snow.
Oh, gosh, snow.